Hey guys, what's going on? It's Am I Missing Something? It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
This is more of a conversational approach that we have in this show. It's really a topic that we ask ourselves the question, am I missing something about a particular topic? So you clicked on the picture. This one is kind of interesting because, vinyl has been a thing for a while now and had its lull in the late 90s, and it's slowly come back. And now music nerds like myself and Zach, we have vinyl collections, we've got record players, we've got decent-sized stereo systems to listen to them on. But did you ever really think that cassettes would be making a comeback? I kind of think like cassettes are 8 tracks. 8 tracks, granted, every now and again you see maybe one artist who puts out an 8-track. But there's been a resurgence in the cassette world where they're starting to come back now and get more releases.
The last few album reviews that we've done for 2 Minutes to Review, including Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jack White, they've released cassette versions of their new albums. They've spent money to produce cassette versions. Why? That's kind of what the whole purpose of this episode is. It's just kind of mind-boggling that a form of music consumption that even at a young age when I was collecting cassettes, I knew was because I had to, because I didn't have a CD player. It's kind of mind-boggling that so many artists are creating that. It's funny, I've tried to ask some of my friends, hey, do you have any cassettes? No one's owning up to the fact that they buy cassettes still. But there's clearly an audience for it. So why? It was never a well-respected format. Even at its height of popularity, it was just a necessity, because if you wanted to listen to music but not the radio in your car, you needed this little tape, and it always sucked. You always had to, if you wanted to listen to a particular song, you had to wait it out or fast forward and hope that you could click the pause at the right time. It really was the VHS of music. It wasn't good audio sound quality. What is the appeal of a cassette in today's age, where not only do you have better sounding quality options, but you have options that are more easy and accessible than a cassette, with streaming platforms and
convenient.
And, convenient. It's nothing about the cassette is appealing. Nothing about it is convenient. Why, Matt? Why? I ask you. Let's just get right into it. Why?
So, I don't know, to be completely honest, because honestly, I'm on the boat.
Hope you
I'm on the boat of I don't understand why this is a thing. So I am missing something. I found a website that goes over what has been released in 2022 that's on a cassette. The Weeknd released Dawn FM on a cassette.
That's a retro sounding album, so I guess maybe that's a joke. You don't want to have that on cassette.
Maybe. It's definitely a form of music that I don't care to listen to anymore. There are a reason why there's jokes online of a cassette sitting on a table and a pencil sitting next to it. And
let's say that too, yeah.
Yeah. When you see it, and people will either put 2 and 2 together that, and if you don't know what that joke is, the cassette, you take the pencil, put it into one of the reels, and start to wind it back when the tape all comes out. So
does that make you feel old having to explain that?
Yes. I even wrestle sometimes with the fact that I have a vinyl collection, and here's why.
I'm glad you brought that up, but please, yeah, because I was starting to feel the same way.
I listen to Spotify for everything that I listen to when we do reviews and I have to go back and listen to something, I'll go onto Spotify, or I will be listening while I'm working my regular job. I have that on in the background, and it's just one gigantic playlist that I have. If you have to get up, you put a record on and you listen to it, then you have to get up after a couple songs, flip it over, put the needle down again. And then if there's something that you don't want to listen to, it's not as easy as hitting a button and skipping a track. And the same goes for cassettes, but cassettes are even more of a hindrance, because at least on a vinyl, you can kind of see where the songs stop and start, and you can drop the needle where you want to. A cassette, you needed to have a specific cassette player, and I know this because I had one, and it was the fanciest damn thing I ever owned when I had cassettes. I had a cassette player that had the ability to jump to certain songs, but it's not like you could skip track 1 and then get to track, or skip track 2 and go to track 3. You had to wait, you had to hit skip, wait for it to get to track 2, which took some time, hit it again to skip the track 3, and then hit it again, skip to track 4. So it's like you had to do all this waiting in between listening to your music. Vinyl, you stop the player, pick the needle up, look for the groove, drop it on the groove, and play it again. Okay, that's faster than a cassette. And listening to a vinyl record, to me, is an experience. You know, you're going to sit down and you're going to listen to this album and you're going to appreciate the sound quality. Maybe you're going to have a drink with it. Never once have I thought that putting a cassette in a player is going to be a listening experience. Like, vinyl almost has this ritual about it. And it is still argued after all this time that it sounds better than any other form, even though you can have a file with as much information in it as humanly possible about a particular song, whereas you're limited to what's on the vinyl. And still people fight that this vinyl is still the best way to listen to music. You know, it's just, you put the record on, you get your drink ready. Maybe you get a set of headphones if somebody's gone to bed, and you just sit there and you vibe along with it. Cassettes, there's none of that.
Even from a visual perspective, I mean, so you kind of mentioned how like you listen to everything on Spotify. I listen to everything streaming in Apple Music as well now. And I do kind of feel silly sometimes looking at my vinyl collection and not going, I should probably listen to this. I blame my twin toddlers on that. I don't have a life anymore. That's why. But beside the point, enough of me blaming kids. The thing that I still justify myself, though, for having a vinyl collection is that it's a big ass piece of artwork. It's a actual item that if it's the right cover, it has so many different details in it. I mean, it's something that you can literally take and need both hands to really hold and observe and understand. I mean, it's collecting art in many ways. I can't make that same argument about cassette. I know this sounds like legit, like, well, duh, because it's smaller, but like, you can't appreciate the artwork on a cassette cover. I mean, most of the covers are cut off, or you look at, I think, the Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 cassettes. I mean, it's missing half the artwork, or it's shrunken the artwork into a square. I mean, it's not pleasing to the eye. There's no real value in owning a new cassette. I kind of understand if you want to collect the original pressings of a cassette. I mean, I still have somewhere an original Black Album Metallica cassette. I get still holding on to that, or, finding those old ones for $3, but to spend more than $10 on a new album, it's a silly collector's item, an expensive collector's item that you can't even listen to, more likely than not.
I'm trying to find it because I want to see how much this Dawn FM one is. I had it and I clicked off the page, but Dawn FM, I think, was going for maybe $20.
That's ridiculous. I want you to find it again. Does it come with a digital download at least?
Okay, so these ones are coming from Paris or the UK. I mean, it's written in French, but it says US $39.30. And let's see if we click in it. Does it come with a digital download? It does not say if it comes with a digital. Oh, wait. Yes, it does. Here it is.
It does.
Yep. It comes. Yes. With a digital download.
So that's the only plus side. It's like, all right, at least I get a digital. Although if you have a streaming platform,
then
whatever, you can listen to
why? What's the point of it? Like, you just brought up the thing about the artwork. And to me, I see this Dawn FM artwork on here. And yeah, it looks cool on a cassette because it's that like 80s lo-fi type visual. And that's really cool to see in a cassette. However, think about what the cassettes look like that you didn't care about or you listened to incessantly. The cases are smashed. The liner notes are probably bent up. The cassette looks like hell. Vinyl, yeah, maybe the cover takes a little bit of a beating, but you take the time to put it away and make it play again. Like, these things were meant to be on the go in your car, and they were just thrashed. They're like CDs. Like, think about vinyl you wouldn't take anywhere. You couldn't play it in a car. But CDs were the same way. Like, I have a copy of Californication that I can't listen to because it's beat to hell. The case is cracked up and the artwork is, I think it's kind of okay. But I have a copy of, and I'm lucky that I have this, I have a copy of Californication on cassette, and I have a copy of Metallica Load and Reload on cassette, which were the original ones. So Those are okay, but they were at the tail end of cassettes, and I got the CDs because the CDs sounded way better.
Yeah. I actually
So
have Californication. I first got it on cassette. That was probably, if not the first album I ever bought on cassette. I also bought it on CD, and I have the vinyl too. All superior than the cassette. Side note, you're talking about pricing. I'm looking up Jack White's Fear of the Dawn on cassette, and I'm actually finding that it's an exclusive item from Newberry Comics. They're a chain. If you're not familiar with Newberry Comics, they're based out of the New England area, with a few locations sprinkled throughout the U.S. And it's limited to 1,000. It will cost you $11.99. I kind of understand that since it's limited to 1,000. Maybe if you're a diehard Jack White fan, you kind of just want it for gloating rights that you have a cassette. But that's still, even for $11.99, a pretty expensive collector's item. I will admit, the last time I bought a cassette, it was in 2015 for Record Store Day, and Metallica released a replica version of their famous No Life Till Leather demo tape. And they literally replicated the infamous Lars handwriting on each side of the cassette. It looks like an old 80s cassette demo, and the same one that he passed around, and that essentially got the interest of so many diehard fans. But what's crazy is that, like, I actually haven't even listened to it because I don't have a cassette player. And it only cost maybe $10, but at the same time, was it worth it? I mean, it's kind of, I mean, for a Metallica diehard fan, yes, it's cool, but it's not the original demo. Is it really that awesome of a collector's item?
did it come in the long box?
No, it did not come in the long box. It looked like you bought like a blank cassette tape from Radio Shack to record over. It's not even that authentic of a replica either, because I don't really. It's just kind of silly. I still don't fully understand the appeal.
So I'm going to go back into pricing. So now, just doing a quick old search on the internet leads me to the hippest of hipster stores, Urban Outfitters. They have a CD and cassette section on their website separate from vinyl.
Jesus.
Inside of here, the cassettes that they have include Unlimited Love from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, $12.98. They've got Bo Burnham. Inside limited cassette tape is $14.98. Elton John's The Lockdown Session Limited Edition, which is a purple cassette, for $14.98. Lil Huddy is $13.98. Still Woozy is $17.98.
Only acceptable price would be maybe $2, and even then, you can argue that you're paying too much. I'm actually looking up. So I was just curious because, again, like I said, the No Life Till Leather cassette was Record Store Day exclusive. And I was like, I wonder what's it going for reused on Amazon. I'm seeing as high as $175
That's crazy
for this thing. And you can't even, unless you have a cassette player, can't even listen to it. And it's not even the original. It's a replica. I paid maybe 15. I think closer to 10.
And I think that was
myself to do more.
I remember going and getting that with you, and I remember that was too much because I was considering getting them. Like $15 for a cassette. No.
Yeah. It was a little silly. I mean, I love Metallica, but actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know where I put it. Shows how much I cared about that item, huh?
But here's the craziest one. Lana Del Rey, the Blue Banisters limited cassette tape, which is a beigey color, $22.98 for a cassette. At least some cars you could still find a CD player in if you bought a new car. Maybe if you get a used car that's a couple of years old, you could get a CD player. You've got to go far back to get a cassette player. If there was ever something that am I missing something? This is it. Like, I don't get the appeal. Maybe it's a cool nostalgia item. Maybe. But why?
And with that said, I have to ask, if cassettes are making a huge comeback, why aren't CDs? Because, yes, granted, there's still a lot of artists who do produce. I mean, all the artists that we mentioned have a CD version. Like, why? Like, I get the appeal of the CD. Maybe it's because I have hundreds hundreds of CDs that I've gotten over the years. And I would make the argument for that. Like, not only can you at least get a good glimpse of the cover that's collectible, but also a lot of bands, especially lately, they do a special design on the CD itself. So I get that there's artwork and intricate details that are exclusive to that. I get the appeal of that, but cassettes?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We're going back to we're going back to Urban Outfitter, because
hold on. Is that a statement that you ever thought you'd say out loud? We're going back to Urban Outfitter.
I didn't think that this existed. I didn't know that this technology had even crossed paths. I'm assuming that Bluetooth went slumming one night and it found a cassette player, and they had a bastard child, because there is a Bluetooth cassette player that they're selling for $110.
Shut the hell up. Why?
It's called the NIM Lab. It's okay. 2 Bluetooth cassette player. It's got authentic late 80s, early 90s see-through technology. So you can see into the inner workings of the cassette player.
What mind boggles me about all this is that I get it. If you're tight on cash and can't essentially afford, because vinyl is really expensive now. Really expensive. I get it. Like, you might not want to spend $35 plus if you're lucky on a new album on vinyl. But it's not that much cheaper to buy a cassette.
So,
it's really not.
No, and because think about this too. You could go on like Facebook Marketplace and find probably a cassette player that somebody doesn't want and pick it up for like $30.
Yeah.
They have a Crosley AM/FM Bluetooth cassette player. I don't understand why, and it's $70.
It's not that I want to collect music, but the price is what's getting me. It's not a price thing for cassettes, obviously. You know what? I'm sorry, but going back to the whole sound quality, people agreed very early on that cassettes were not that great of a sounding alternative listening music, to the point that I remember pretty early on into my music collecting days having this like connector to your CD player that you would hook into like a little fake cassette that you'd like slip into your car's cassette player, so that you can actually listen to the CD with your CD player, as opposed to like, that's how much everyone agreed unanimously that cassettes were not that great, that there was alternatives to finding a way around playing cassettes. And I go back to, like, I get it, like, if you have limited resources for being able to listen to music, but nowadays, sorry artists, I don't mean to screw you out of your income, but there's so many cheaper / free ways to consume music. So it's not for sound quality. It's mind-boggling.
So just doing another quick internet search, come across this other website called Retrospect, RETROSPEKT, and they have a retro new Sony AM/FM Walkman cassette player for $139. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. And they've got like the stupid metal band headphones too. If you remember those, your hair would get caught. We've got like padded technology now where your hair doesn't get caught and it's comfortable to wear. Why?
Why is this a thing? Really that strong of a thing? Is nostalgia? I mean, if we were really going down the nostalgia route, I guess I kind of have fond memories of listening to a cassette, but I wouldn't say it's because of the cassette. I've shared this story during one of our past 2 minutes to review episodes when we revisited Californication, kind of going back to that album, where I shared, it was even before I got that album, I found at some thrift store a single cassette that had other side on one side and a B side on the other. And I do have vivid memories of making my mom listen to my cassette single version of Other Side nonstop. It was in between 5th grade and 6th grade. We're in the midst of moving. I was at a young age, and really we recognized that, all right, Zach needs some help. Before we had moved, we were still making a long drive up to my future school for a summer program that would help with, transition me into the school for a little additional support with my dyslexia. And I do vividly remember us driving through Dunkin' Donuts to get coffee and donuts, and then just making my mom listen to the other side nonstop during a 45-minute drive with that cassette. I will admit that is definitely a fond memory during a time that definitely brought a lot of confusion to young Zach. With all that said, it's not the cassette that makes me go, oh man, I remember some good times. It's the song. It's hearing that song that gives me the flashback to that moment. I mention all that because, again, if we're talking about nostalgia, I don't get the warm feelings of fond memories with that cassette. It's the songs, but not the cassette. If anything, I remember the frustrations of having Use Your Illusion 1 on cassette and wanting to listen to November Rain, but being too lazy to fast forward and hope I got it. And then just waiting to listen to the whole thing. And then by the time we finally got to November Rain, we had arrived at our destination. I had to wait again. Like, so I remember the frustrations that came from the cassettes. And I can't imagine that I'm the only one who had those frustrations.
No, and I had the same thing too. And I remember that's why I wanted a new cassette player, not only because I got tired of, fast forwarding to the songs and missing songs and having to go back, and I got, the fancy one where it skipped the songs to the next song, and I don't even know how it did it. But
yeah, I don't even recall that ever existing. So good for you for having patience. I went straight to CDs as soon as I could. But I actually remember it being an exciting moment when my parents finally got a car that had a CD player as opposed to a cassette player. I was like, oh my God, I can finally buy CDs now.
But what was great about it was that it also had an AM/FM radio. So there was actually music on the radio,
That actually is pretty cool.
Back then. So that was a good thing to have, was because you had, options at that point. Now, you don't even think about that with your phone because you've got literally everything at your fingertips. And I mean, there's even a New York Times article that I just found too that talks about cassettes, and it's called, don't call it a comeback, cassettes have sounded lousy for years and still do. So
I saw that one too. Yeah.
I asked the question of the record industry and the music industry, what's the deal? Like, I don't think I've ever been this perplexed about something coming back. Like, I get the trends come and go, and the clothes that I wore when I was 14, 15, they're coming back around again. And I get that because that's fashion, and fashion is always cyclical, and there's very minimal changes here and there, but people are going to correct me on that. But I get that. And I get the vinyl thing because it is a special listening experience, and it is an experience, and it's a lot of artwork, and it's something that you're going to hold onto, and it's not meant to be beat up. It can be beat up if it's in your room and it gets kicked around and whatnot. But there's something to be said about the quality of vinyl. The cassette is the same thing as an 8-track, and it's never been great. People make fun of 8-tracks all the time. People make fun of cassettes all the time. I don't see the appeal from that perspective. And even, you can't see this right now, but behind me, I have some albums hanging on my wall because the artwork is cool. You can't do that with a cassette. And it's visible.
And granted, this is kind of how vinyl started. Maybe this is vinyl towards the more recent years started, and maybe that's how it ended up here. If you have like a collection of old school cassettes that you've found at flea markets, or that you found from your friends or parents, or your own old collections of cassettes, and you're collecting it from that way, or even like you're going to a flea market and you pay at most $2 for an old school Bruce Springsteen cassette. I get the value of the history of having a first I guess not pressing, or however you refer to cassettes.
First issue, maybe.
First issue of a cassette. I get how that's kind of cool, and how you might, find it fun to like have it sit up at your desk or whatever. But to spend more than $10 on a new album especially, for a cassette, I mean, no judgment. I'm sorry. I think I do want to kind of remind everyone that the purpose of this show really is not to judge or be critical of anything for the sake of being critical. We really are just genuinely trying to wrap our heads around a certain topic.
This one more than any others, to be completely honest.
This one, unlike, and we do try to come to answers at the end of these episodes. This one, I'm struggling to find an answer.
I don't think that there is one. I think it's just another quick cash grab because somebody might be like, oh my God, I remember the cassette. And, here's a cassette of Smells Like Teen Spirit because they did that for Record Store Day a few years ago. And it's even called Record Store Day. Record. You go to a record store.
I do have that album on cassette. And that one kind of works on a cassette because the baby is perfectly in the middle. But that's.
But was that an original or is that one from Record Store?
No, that was an original. No, that was an original. I had that when I was a kid.
That's okay, but
no, I know the reissues.
But why? Once again, why? It's the biggest selling album on CD, and honestly, I would want it on vinyl because of the quality. So,
you know what?
I don't know.
You know what? I know that we typically end these episodes with me doing a plug for our socials to tell us what you think. Here I am genuinely asking you. Go to our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter accounts at Epic Footnote. For those out there who are listening who do collect cassettes, please tell us why you still collect cassettes or why you buy a new album's cassette version. Maybe we'll even do a part 2 of this particular episode. It's fascinating as to how this is still a thing. Please let us know. Again, at Epic Footnote on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go find us. Let us know what you think about this topic. Do you agree with us? Are you crazy? And you know what? Let's even open this up for more debate. Do you think we're giving vinyl too much credit? Do you think vinyl is really not that much better than cassettes? Or is that also a fad? And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, not only can you hear some more cool podcasts like this, but maybe even check out a few of our videos where Matt and I showcase some of our prized items from our vinyl collection. So check it out. And before we leave, a major special shout out to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
So if you've ever wanted to try Beard Bomb oil before, this is your chance to do it. We've partnered with the guys over at Lucky 13 Beard Co. and we've come up with our own. It is the Lemmy. It is inspired by Lemmy from Motorhead, and it smells of bourbon and cola, tobacco and leather, everything that Lemmy embodied, and it smells amazing. You are going to love the way you feel. You're going to love the way that you smell. Your beard is never going to be as smooth as if you were to try this Beard Bomb or oil. And right now, we're giving you a chance to go get 10% off. Head on over to Lucky13beardco.com. Click on the product page, throw the Lemmy in your cart, or throw any of the other scents. Maybe the Lemmy's not your thing. Maybe you want something a little bit more classic like tobacco vanilla. Throw it in your cart. You're going to get 10% off anyway. Use the code EFP10 at checkout. Lucky13beardco.com. Use that code EFP10 at checkout.
And also a special shout out to Rootless Coffee. These guys from Flint, Michigan really produce some delicious tasting coffee. They have their own range of flavors, but they also collaborate with a lot of different people, from comic book artists to wrestlers. In fact, one of our favorite wrestlers, Dan Housen, who's now in AEW, he's worked with them on a few different blends. It's very good, very evil coffee. And they even worked with nonprofit organizations and fellow podcasters like us to produce their own blends of coffee. Really delicious tasting stuff. It's coffee that breaks free from boredom. It's a really good way to describe it, actually. Go to rootlesscoffee.com and use the code EPICROAST, all caps, to get 15% off of your order of their original blends. You really can't beat that. You're going to thank us. You're going to smell great thanks to Lucky 13 Beard Co. And then you're going to be caffeinated, ready for the day thanks to Rootless Coffee. You're welcome. But thank you all so much for listening. Hope you join us real soon.
See ya.